Hi everyone, my name is Paul Mannion and I work at Mannion Lawyers. We run family law for fathers, so we only represent dads in family law matters. I'm covering a few Facebook pages and I thought I would post a couple of videos on a weekly basis, providing some advice to some of the questions that have been asked. Few people have been interested, so I'm glad I'm able to help in some way. This is not a money-making scheme. I don't want you to subscribe or do anything else. It's just looking at some of the questions that have been asked and providing some answer for you. Okay, so someone recently asked about false allegations, and this particular person was concerned about going to court for his 4-week-old child with the mother making false allegations. This comes up time and time again, false allegations, false allegations, false allegations. It's a really frustrating thing in family court. But I think what we have to remember is false allegations are merely statements until there's some evidence. So the courts are not stupid, they're cautious, and that's realistic. I keep on telling my guys, over and over again, that while we've got cases that we hear on the news where men are doing violent, horrible things to women and children, the courts have no other option than to err on the side of caution, and I completely understand that. This is why we have to jump through hoops and do all the things that we have to do as fathers to prove that we're not, the allegations are not true. So in this case, this is a 4-week-old child and he's wondering whether he should go to court. Orders are made until 18 years old. If you're talking about a 4-week-old and you're in court for some time, 12 months, 18 months, whatever it is, at least then you've got orders for the duration. He was wondering about the time that he'll spend with a 4-week-old, or no time with a 4-week-old. Look, and that may be the case initially, while the allegations are being sought in court, or at least heard in court. You may have to jump through hoops, and it may involve supervised time for a period of time. But supervised time comes with supervised reports as well. So if the reports are positive, then there's no other evidence in relation to the allegations, then the court has then evidence that there are no risks to the child. And that's what the court's always going to consider, is what are the risks to the child. The other thing that people have to realise for a 4-week-old is the courts, generally, they will not consider overnight time for some time without consent. I mean, by consent, you can do whatever you like, but the courts won't consider overnight time for such a young baby. So you're looking at a couple of hours a day, a few days a week is what you'd be wanting. I did have a matter where a guy had supervised time for his baby, and it went once a week for 12 months, and then that progressed to overnight, and now he's got regular visits with his child. And it definitely was jumping through hoops, but I guess it's a matter for you whether it's worth it or not. And for my mind, 4-week-old and making sure you've got some regular time with your child, 100%, it's definitely worth it. All right. So the next one is someone was meeting the ICL today, or the ICL coming up soon. Now, the ICL is an independent children's lawyer. I'm not sure why a father is meeting an independent children's lawyer, unless it's for a child impact report, which he may have meant. But ICL is a party to proceedings, and so is the father. So I wouldn't imagine you have to meet with another solicitor. But anyway. The hair follicle test, which is unfortunate because it came back positive, it's a thing you have to manage, a thing you have to deal with. It's a step back. There's no doubt about that. The courts have a ridiculously different standard. If you're a drinker or a recreational drug user, you can hold down a job and hold down a driver's license and all those things. In family court, the standard is a lot higher. So it's almost like zero tolerance when in relation to kids. And again, while the news are full of reports of people that are getting high and doing stupid things and hurting kids and hurting other people, then the court will always err on the side of caution. So what you need to do if you've got a negative hair follicle test is you need to basically say what you're going to do about it. People will tell me, I'll do anything for my kids. Well, it may mean stop using drugs or stop using alcohol, and show the court that you're prepared to do that. Now, that would probably mean doing something about what the result was, if it was drugs or alcohol, doing something about that, either seeing a drug and alcohol counsellor, or if need be, looking at a rehab, for a period of time, and show the court that, hand up, okay, this has come back negative, but I'm prepared to do something because I'm prepared to do whatever I need to for my kids. That's going to be the difference. That's not going to be against you if you're showing that you're acknowledging it and you're prepared to do something about it. Negative drug results or negative alcohol results, people will have various reasons why that happens, and you can say that. But if you want to convince the court that there's no longer an issue and not a concern at all for you or your children, then you have to prove that to the court. All right. The last one was international travel. Some guy just recently asked, he's got no court orders and wants to look at traveling overseas with his child. And should he take it to court, or can he take it to court? In my experience, international travel is largely granted by the courts because it's a natural travel arrangement for kids and families. So it usually isn't denied unless there's a risk of abduction or not returning to the country and things like that. That is often the argument that's made. But if you're planning a trip on a holiday and you want permission to do that, first thing is you ask, and you ask in writing. And then the second thing is, which people have said, is look at mediation specifically for that. So it shouldn't be a long 4-hour mediation for one particular point, but invite the other party to go to mediation to discuss this. And then the option is making a court application. And the court application could be for a singular order, which is to allow international travel. The only problem you have with a court application is it opens the door for parenting orders. And then it's a bit like Pandora's box. You're opening that option. However, this guy particularly, it was a 9-year-old child, and he's only seeing the child 2 days a week. So in my mind, and there's no issues. So no criminal, no mental health, no drug and alcohol. That's the trifecta that you guys really have to keep on asking yourself, and how we can mitigate those risks. So if there's none of those, he's highly likely to get an order probably more than 2 days a week. So we seek orders because shared care is difficult to get without consent. So we seek orders largely having every second weekend, but Thursday to Monday. So you're involved with the school process. Thursday to Monday, every second weekend, and then half school holidays, birthdays, Father's Day, that sort of stuff. You can also get every second weekend plus another night in the off week. That usually helps because you're involved in the school process a little bit more. Pick the child up after school, help with homework. Meet the teachers if you need to. That's the argument for being involved in the off week as well. So in that particular case, where it's a 9-year-old, you're looking to travel, my view is if you did go to court, you would highly likely get orders for travel. And if the Pandora's box for parenting orders did open, you're not asking for anything sensational, which is always the thing I say to my guys. If you're not asking for anything extraordinary or out of the normal, then it's a reasonable request, and the court will consider that. And likely, if the other person, the mother in this case, doesn't want to go to court, it may be consent orders that are made really, really early. All right, I usually put about 10 minutes on these videos. Hopefully they helped. Like I said, I don't need anyone to subscribe. It's not a money-making scheme, so it's just purely some legal advice just to cover some of the questions. I hope this helps, and good luck with everything. Thanks, guys.